The only unions that currently work are those that are compelled.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
All right, folks, welcome back to the program. Dustin Harris hanging out once again in the podcast chair. I want to talk today about unions. It comes up frequently on the forums. But first, I want to pause and remind you that we are sponsored by a couple of great companies. Of course, we are sponsored by the great OREP Insurance. OREP.org is where you find out more. And of course, True Tracks, the new program, free program from True Footage that will help you with your market adjustments and your time adjustments and your market definitions. Find out more by going to truefootage.tech, and click on the True Tracks button. All right, folks, comes up a lot. I see it probably 3 or 4 times a year on the Facebook groups, on the other forums that are out there, and that is, why don't we have a union? Why don't appraisers have a union? And typically they, quote something that's going on in legislation, in the modernization world, the GSEs and everything else. It's something that's frustrating to appraisers. It often has to do with AMCs, and they say, man, if we just had a union, this would not happen anymore. Well, folks, I'm going to share with you why a union is not going to work for appraisers. I just don't see it happening. And there's several reasons for that. First of all, let's talk and acknowledge the frustration. Let's talk about and acknowledge the frustration. I am boots on the ground appraising, folks. I am in the trenches, as they say. I get it. I understand why the complaints. I understand that there's lender pressures out there still. No matter how many laws they pass against this, that, and the other, we still feel that pressure. I experience AMC abuses just like any of the rest of you. Now, I encourage my clients to grade their AMCs and their clients in general and only go with the individuals that treat them well. The A clients, the B clients maybe, but definitely there's no such thing in my world as C clients, right? There's A, there's B, and then there's Y clients. The Y clients are, why the hell am I working for you clients? And I get rid of those clients, okay? But the push for modernization, the things that are going on in the world, there's a lot of change happening for appraisers. Now, I take a little bit of a different approach than some appraisers take. I actually like change. Change to me is exciting and brings opportunity. But let's set that aside for just a second and acknowledge why appraisers are frustrated, why they are upset, why they get on these forums like the Facebook pages and they rant and they rave. Okay. I also understand the appeal of unions. I understand that there is strength in numbers, that with a union comes the collective bargaining that you're not going to get alone. I also understand that the way that the world works, we want to believe, right, that the world is as pristine as the founding fathers created it. And that everything works through this balance of power, right? That we elect our officials and they fight for us, right? But we know that number one, money runs the world, and number two, lobbying is really how things get done, both on a state level and on a national level. Okay, it's the golden rule, folks. Those who have the gold rule. And that's unfortunate. And I do understand the appeal of unions in the sense of, again, strength for numbers, collective bargaining, lobbying power. Folks, we can't, as appraisers, afford to hire lobbyists to do the work that needs to be done. Okay? But here's the problem. Appraisers, my friends, are fiercely independent by nature. This is something that I have learned kind of the hard way over the years. I should have known it because I'm fiercely independent, right? And then it's the old chicken and egg question, right? Did appraisers become fiercely independent because of the nature of their work? Or did the nature of the work attract a certain personality? One that is probably a little bit more introverted, one that likes to work on their own, but more importantly, one that likes to run things, likes to manage things, likes to have. When I talk to appraisers and I say, why do you do this? Why is it? What is your why behind your job as an appraiser? Folks, it is rare, if not ever, do I hear someone say, "Oh, I just love numbers, and I love finding comps and making adjustments, and man, I love dealing with revision requests." Right? That's not the answers that they give me. The answer is, I love running my own business. I love the freedom to have my and make my own schedule. These are why appraisers are attracted to this particular industry. And so I would say chicken or egg is probably out the window. It's more about what is attracted into this type of business than it is about changing someone's personality once they are there. Okay. Now, do I wish we had a strong lobby? Sure. Do I wish we had a strong union as appraisers? I don't know. I am conflicted on that particular question because I'm not a big fan in general of unions. I think that there are some struggles with unions. Okay. And I'm just going to lay out some of those. Okay. Again, I made the point and I just want to stress it again, double punch that ticket, that appraiser independence, the types of people that we are. This is in our DNA, folks. Appraisers choose this field to be their own boss, to set their own hours, to operate as independent professionals. Okay. And unions, on the other hand, typically thrive in a structured, employee-based industry. Appraisers are mostly independent contractors, making unionization logistically difficult, if not impossible. The other issue that I have with unions is the fact that most unions are not chosen by those that are in it. They just aren't. Okay? It's more about compulsion than it is anything else. When you work for a certain company, you are a member of the Teamsters. And you don't have a choice in that. My mom was an educator, right? And she was very anti-union. Yet she belonged to the teachers union her entire life. She did not have a choice. If you want to have this job and work for this school district, we pay dues to a union. Folks, appraisers understand this, right? Appraisers understand this through the NAR. The NAR is a forced, and again, I know you have choice, right? Sort of. But if you're going to use the MLS in most areas, you're going to be part of the Association of Realtors locally. You're going to be a part of the Association of Realtors on your state level, and you are going to be a part of the Association of Realtors on the national level, the NAR. So for all intents and purposes, folks, if you're going to be an appraiser, you already have a union. You belong to the National Association of Realtors. That's just the way it is. Now, I think the NAR has done some good over the years for appraisers. I think, let me give you a couple of examples. Okay. I think that when the HVCC fallout happened in 2008, the NAR did push back against the HVCC in some ways. Okay. I think they recognized how it harmed independent appraisers by empowering the AMCs. There's been some recent, on some level, let's give credit where credit's due. Okay. They've been some support for reducing the biased allegations. Okay. They made some public statements about supporting appraisers. Now, again, I think this is probably weak compared to what a real advocate would do, but at least they gave some lip service to it. Okay. But again, laying everything on the table, and this isn't an anti-NAR podcast today, but I think it's important to just lay out the facts. I think the NAR largely sat on the sidelines when the PAVE task force was happening. Okay. I think they actually went so far as to vilify and use appraisers as a scapegoat. Okay. Um, I mean, I could give other examples. That's the big one. There's many others where I think the NAR has failed appraisers. And folks, to give them credit, rightfully so, in the sense that their main concern is going to be where the money is. And the money is not with appraisers. When you look at the number of realtors out there, real estate agents and brokers that are out there compared to the number of appraisers that are out there, of course, they're going to be more supportive of their agents and brokers. That's where they're getting their money. But it is frustrating as an appraiser to be a part of a union. In fact, secretly I say this in my head every time I see this on the forums when people say, appraisers say, "I wish we had a lobby. I wish we had a union." Folks, almost every one of you, I would say 95% of you, do have a union currently. Okay, so where does that go from here? I mean, that's up to you, right? But in the end, I don't think that the NAR is doing much good for appraisers. We are forced to pay dues without much in return. Okay? So I do understand the frustration from appraisers. Appraisers saying, we've got problems, we've got AMC issues, we've got modernization issues, we've got bias issues, we've got all of these laws that are passing and they're not favorable toward appraisers. We need a lobby, we need a union. Okay, I just don't see it happening, folks. I really don't see it happening. And I want to talk about more on that and why that is. But first, I want to pause and remind you of a couple of really, really great organizations out there. One of them, of course, is OREP Insurance. I was actually on the line with Isaac 2 nights ago. I had a client who's dealing with an issue, and I don't know whether he's an OREP member or not. I didn't ask. But I did promise this coaching client, that I would call OREP and just ask their opinion. So off the record, I called Isaac Peck and I said, "Hey, here's the situation. What do you think?" And he gave such excellent advice. Folks, this is the type of company you want behind you. A company, first of all, that understands appraisers, but second of all, a company that's there for appraisers. I love OREP Insurance. You should as well. It is my E&O of choice, orep.org. Again, it's orep.org. Another sponsor here, of course, is the software that is made by True Footage. We've talked about Spark. We've talked about Synapse. And now I want to talk about a new program called True Tracks. True Tracks, folks, is the ability to help you with these silly modernization rules that are happening on Fannie Mae's level. The show your work rule, as they're calling it. Now, I know this isn't new, but they certainly emphasized as of March 1st, 2025, that you need to be showing your work, that you need to be making non-linear adjustments for time, that you need to be defining your market based on what a neighborhood really looks like economically, right? How do we do that, folks? Well, True Tracks does it for you. It is absolutely amazing. You're still in control, folks, but it will help you to synthesize data so that you have the ability to accomplish what is being asked of you. True Tracks, you can find out more by going to truefootage.tech, T-E-C-K. That's truefootage.tech. All right, folks, welcome back to the program. Dustin Harris hanging out once again in the podcast chair. I want to address today this issue of why don't appraisers have unions? And it is an excellent question, folks. And I think we answered most of that up front. Okay. Appraisers are fiercely independent. Unions typically thrive in a structured, employee-based industries. The idea of compulsion over choice, right? Appraisers would rather make their own choices rather than to be compelled to be any part of a union. And I don't think any of us here, correct me if I'm wrong, folks, comment below if you feel differently. But I don't, at least the appraisers that I deal with, the people that I have associations with, my friends out there, if you said that you're now going to be compelled to pay X amount of dollars every year toward our quote unquote union as appraisers, I think most appraisers would say not just no, but hell no. Okay. Now, could a union be of help to appraisers? Sure. I mean, there's all kinds of examples of one that comes to mind is the UPS example. The Teamsters years ago secured massive pay raises for the protections of UPS drivers. Okay. Could this work for appraisers? I mean, sure. Mortgage bankers, the GSEs, they're organized, folks. They have deep pockets. They have a clear mission. And that mission has something to do with control and streamlining valuations to maximize their profits, right? Would a strong central lobby effort change anything? Possibly, folks. But the problem is this. The problem is that of fragmentation. Even if appraisers are organized, would it be realistic with so many different business models out there, the fee-based, the AMC-based, the direct lenders, the private side of things, would it really be realistic that we could come together as appraisers? Now, I know some of you are going to hate me for this, right? Some of you are going to are going to say, well, Dustin, of course nothing's ever going to get done if you keep continuing to talk like this. Okay. You have a big microphone, you're out there talking. There's no way we could ever create a folks. I'm all for it. If you feel like you can do this to not make it compelled, right? And it can be done, great. I'm on board. I'll open up my checkbook. Okay. But this argument comes up frequently. And I understand why. Okay. It's frustrating to see the industry get steamrolled by big players in deep pockets. That said, folks, I am not, and I think a lot of people are with me on this, I am not a big fan of force or compulsion. One of the reasons the appraisal business is the way that it is, for better or for worse, is because it attracts fiercely independent thinkers who want to be their own boss. Folks, there are plenty of jobs out there for those who prefer collective bargaining or groupthink. But appraisal has always been a space for professionals who value autonomy. Now, again, most of us are already compelled to pay NAR dues, okay? Even though we're rarely supported there, as we pointed out. And while there's no easy answer, I'd rather focus on solutions that preserve this independence rather than forcing everyone for a structure that they didn't sign up for. And that's really, unfortunately, what you get with unions. The only unions, and I'm just going to say this bluntly, folks, if it's not already obvious, the only unions that currently work are those that are compelled. And I know some of you are saying, well, Dustin, then why are you against it if it works? Folks, because I don't like to be forced. Right now, there are many, many, many things that you can do on a national level. There's many groups out there that, for better or for worse, and I know you can say pros and cons of all of these, right? But there's the Appraisal Institute. There's the American Association of Appraisers, the ASA. There's the NAA, the National Association of Appraisers. There's the American Guild, the AGA of Appraisers. Folks, that one comes up quite a bit. I think they're out there doing a lot for appraisers. And I'm not saying these others aren't, okay? There's all kinds of groups out there that are advocating for appraisers. So my question for you is, if you want a lobby, then join one. There's groups out there that are fighting for appraisers. Strengthen that. Now, some of you are saying, well, Dustin, what you're saying, that's the problem. The problem is there's a bunch of organizations out there instead of just one organization out there. And I agree. But again, folks, I am not a big fan of force. I'm not a big fan of people saying, you know what, you have to do it this way. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Sorry, I'm just not for that. Okay. I think there's alternative solutions. I think creating an industry-wide advocacy fund might work. Okay. Without forced membership, by the way. Make it voluntary. Okay, leverage technology and collective action, folks. AI is making huge strides. The other day, just to give you an example, right? AI is awesome for legal stuff. It truly is. I was talking to a friend of mine who has been heavily involved in the education side in Idaho. In fact, she said, and this was not her bragging, right? But she said that 80% of the legislation that has occurred over the last couple of years in education in Idaho was her handwriting. Okay, so she knows how to do this stuff. And she said, it is so easy now to create a bill. It is so easy. I go to ChatGPT, I type in what I want, and it is better written than I could write it myself. Okay. The other day, I wrote a quitclaim deed. I had to deed one of my properties from my LLC to my personal name. I have no idea what that looks like. I have no idea, even though I've seen these multiple times as an appraiser, right? But to go to ChatGPT and say, write me a quitclaim deed, I need it from this entity to this entity. Here's the address. Here's the legal description. Go. And that fast, it was done. And I'll be signing it tomorrow with a notary and sending it off and getting it recorded. Folks, my point is this. You don't have to have super smart people anymore because you've got super smart technology. Okay. Should appraisers stand up and challenge unfair treatment through lawsuits rather than unions? Possibly. Okay. The point is this, folks. I see this often and I see people say, why don't we get a union? We need a union. Folks, I'm telling you, I'm sorry, I'm going to take a stand here. We will never have a union. Appraisers will never have an effective union. We won't because of who we are. So my encouragement is not to get frustrated and to throw that out there on social media all the time and say, why don't we have a union? Why don't we have a union? Again, I acknowledge the frustration, but the idea of a union, yes, it might be appealing, but the reality of the union, I just don't see it happening. Okay. Appraisers value their independence. They don't want to be forced to pay dues or into this groupthink mentality. Okay. So maybe instead of a formal union, appraisers should look for voluntary, strategic advocacy that aligns with their interest. What do you think? Would love to hear from you. Please tell me, am I missing something? I am teachable, my friends. I just don't see it happening. And I think it's high time somebody said that. Let's look for alternatives to unions to fight for our rights, to get the things that we need as appraisers. I just think there's better ways to do it than through a union. By the way, if you've not heard, I want to share with you an exciting announcement. Folks, in the month of May this year, 2025, we will be holding, and when I say we, Blaine Fine and I will be holding the first Appraiser the Elevate Appraiser Conference, TEAR, T-E-A-R is the acronym, the Elevate Appraiser Retreat. Folks, this is not a conference. This is not CE. This is not a class on how to become another appraiser, a better appraiser. This is a retreat that will teach you how to become fiercely independent as an appraiser and fiercely successful as an appraiser. Folks, we're going to be talking about how to build and sell a $1 million appraisal business. We're going to be meeting outside Yosemite National Park at a beautiful yoga retreat overlooking the valley with hikes and yoga and trips into Yosemite and drinks and food and amazing education. We have room for 15 people. It's already filling up fast. Please, folks, go to my website, theappraisercoach.com, to learn more. It's theappraisercoach.com for the TEAR, the Elevate Appraisal Retreat. See you there.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.